What if I told you this storm you've been carrying is not going to last forever? What if this deep exhaustion in your chest, this pressure that fogs your mind, these sleepless nights where your brain refuses to shut down even when your body is spent, is finally reaching its limit? Maybe you open this message with a heavy heart, tired of being strong for everyone. Maybe you have smiled for others while secretly drowning on the inside, wanting to just sit down, be quiet, and stop fighting. But listen to this, before any other anxious thoughts try to steal your peace. This trial is not eternal. God did not bring you this far to abandon you in your hidden pain. Hearing these words today is not a coincidence. It is a sign that heaven is still working on your behalf. Some weary seasons of waiting feel like they will never end. Days when you watch the clock, check your phone, put on your brave face and pretend everything is fine, even when nothing changes. Maybe it hits you in the quiet dark of your room, staring at the ceiling, trying to look peaceful while your mind is racing. Maybe it hits you in the kitchen or at your desk, surrounded by coworkers desperately trying to keep up appearances while your soul feels completely empty. Replying to emails, doing your job, keeping everyone happy, yet feeling totally isolated. Because the hardest storms are the ones nobody else can see. They happen deep in your heart, behind the smiles. In that quiet place where you finally let down your guard and cry. And the hardest part is not the struggle itself. It is the exhaustion of keeping up a front without knowing when relief will finally come. Without knowing if those quiet prayers you whispered with tears in your eyes were actually heard. But let me remind you of something today, something your weary heart needs to hear. God never ignores His children when they hurt. Never. Even if playing strong has completely drained you, even if the road is heavy and you have cried more tears than you could ever confess, God is still watching you, holding you up, working behind the scenes, while you struggle to keep your composure. Scripture reminds us in Psalm 30 verse 5, "Weeping may last for the night, but joy comes in the morning." That is so real. It does not ignore your exhaustion or demand you fake a smile, but it promises that your hidden pain has a limit, and God has already set a time for your joy to return. That might be exactly what you need to hear today, that this heavy, weary season you hide behind your smile has an expiration date. This storm is not your permanent home. This exhausting chapter is not how your story ends. Sometimes we think because our breakthrough is delayed, God has forgotten us, but He hasn't. This long delay is not punishment, it is preparation. His silence isn't absence, it is divine, invisible movement. These delays are protection, not rejection. Even if you cannot see the full picture through your tears, it does not mean God is idle. In fact, His greatest answers are often taking shape while you are just trying to survive the day. While you weep in secret, God is restoring order. While you pretend to be okay, He is building a strength that could grow no other way. Maybe you feel completely spent. Maybe you want to quit playing strong, not because you lack faith, but because you are just so tired. You are weary of carrying a heavy burden you were never meant to bear alone. And yet, you are still here, listening, breathing, seeking His face. That shows incredible strength. It speaks of a faith much deeper than you realize. Some think faith is only about big smiles and declaring victory. But sometimes real faith is shaking, crying, and admitting you cannot do this alone. It is sitting down in your weariness and refusing to let go of God's hand. That is why this message found you today. God wanted to whisper directly to your exhausted heart. This season of keeping it all together is coming to an end, not because you had to perform flawlessly, but because God in His grace knows exactly when your heavy season must finally end. He knows how much you have carried in silence, how many times you smiled and said, "I am fine," while fighting a battle no one saw. The God who saw you holding it together in secret will bring you visible relief. If this speaks to your weary soul, comment below My storm is ending in Jesus' name, and hit like on this video as an act of release and faith, as a way of saying I'm tired of pretending, and I trust God to carry me now. Subscribe to this channel to keep receiving these encouraging words that strengthen your soul, because sometimes just one right word sent from God at your lowest point can carry you further than you know. But there's a secret to surviving this storm, something quiet and profound that can completely change how you view this exhausting season of waiting. It is not just about the pain ending, but discovering what God has been building inside you while you were busy holding everything up. And that is what makes this season so vital. There is a deep, quiet weariness that slowly drains the soul. You don't show it outwardly. You keep working, replying to messages, showing up for everyone, and doing what must be done, smiling when you must. But deep inside, you are trembling from holding up a stable facade for far too long. You have simply learned to function with a heavy, guarded heart. And honestly, that is incredibly exhausting. It is exhausting to play the stable one when your mind is racing with endless questions. It is hard to keep going. It is exhausting to sit down at night, only to realize your body is stopped, but your weary soul is still on high alert. Maybe you feel it when you finally get a moment alone. The outside noise fades, and the exhaustion of keeping it all together starts screaming. That cycle of thoughts you cannot explain. A heavy mix of silent fear, deep exhaustion, and built-up sadness. It is an empty feeling, not from lacking something, but because you have spent so long faking strength that you have nothing left to give. And the hardest part is carrying a pain you cannot put into words. It does not have a clear shape or come from just one single reason. Instead, it is everything hitting you at once. The pressure to look fine, the waiting, the uncertainty, and not knowing what to do with your pain. Some people face very visible storms, real emergencies, closed doors, and sudden bad news, unpaid bills, broken relationships, and tough choices. But you are fighting a completely silent battle, the kind of struggle nobody around you even suspects, while you wash dishes and check your phone, answering that you are doing fine and going about your day. Yet deep down, you are so tired of fighting. Even if you are not giving up entirely, you are deeply bruised. Your faith is still there, but you are worn down by the agonizing delay, exhausted from waiting for an answer that never seems to come. Sometimes the trial is not just painful because of what happens, but because of what it stirs up inside. Because in the middle of your storm, questions wake up that usually stay buried. Uncomfortable questions, deeply heavy questions you would never dare to speak out loud. Like, what if my life never actually changes? What if I am so used to surviving that I forgot how to truly rest? What if this season is draining me more than I admit? These thoughts crash in uninvited, echoing like a hollow room, sounding like steady rain hitting your window all night. They do not destroy you instantly, but they slowly wear away at your soul. And that is where you might misjudge your own struggle, thinking that a storm is only measured by the sheer size of the problem. But no, the hardest part is often the repetition, the daily grind that does not blow up, but just stays heavy. It is the exhaustion of keeping a happy face when your mind is in total chaos, of trying to pray but only finding short, empty words, of wanting to trust God, while feeling something inside you break every time nothing around you changes. This weariness is part of the storm too. It is the invisible struggle that nobody else sees, but God understands completely. Maybe you think you should be much stronger by now, that you should have easily moved past these heavy emotions, telling yourself that you should not feel this way after praying so much, believing so deeply, and trying to carry everyone else. But your soul is not a machine. Your heart does not heal under pressure, and God does not judge you for being completely exhausted. He is not shocked by your anxiety or pushed away by your confusion. He does not ask you to fake a peace you are still searching for. He knows exactly where it started to hurt. He knows the moment you began hiding your tears so that no one else would worry. He hears that deep sigh you take before forcing a smile, as if trying to convince your own soul to hold together a little longer. There is a painful mystery here, because your storm does not just shake things on the outside. It also exposes what you have been hiding deep within. It reveals old wounds that were never fully healed, exposing secret fears still hiding in the dark. It shows how deeply a disappointment, a harsh word, or this endless waiting affects you. This is why your current test feels so heavy. It is not because God has left you, but because it is touching the most tender parts of your life, those sensitive areas that still need healing. And when that happens, you do not just feel today's pain, you feel old hurts rising up again. No wonder this season has left you so confused, wondering if you are hurting from today's trouble or from all the memories it dragged up. You do not know if you are tired of this trial, of all the past times you had to wear a mask and act strong. You do not know if you are crying for what is missing or for what you survived alone. Yet even inside this storm of emotions, there is still a faint heartbeat deep within you. A spark that is not dead. It still quietens to hear God whisper and still feels moved when a gentle word touches your soul at just the right moment. Because even if you cannot make sense of things right now, there is a deeper work happening behind the scenes of this trial. Something you cannot see at first. Something that does not show itself while your life is shaking, but only when you start looking through the eyes of faith. And maybe that is the most confusing part of your journey, that while you thought you were barely surviving, another battle was raging quietly, much closer to home than you ever imagined, incredibly personal and deeply important. There is something you might miss when you are in the thick of a trial, and that is that your exhaustion is not just from external problems. Sometimes the real fight is not the bad news you received, nor the door that remains closed, nor any problem you can easily explain to others. Sometimes the hardest part is happening deep inside you, in the thoughts that will not leave, the old guilt creeping back, the fears stealing your quiet moments, and that inner voice draining your energy, not by shouting, but by constantly whispering. Those nagging whispers telling you that you simply cannot keep going. Whispers that you've waited too long, that nothing will change and you should just stop hoping. You hide them behind a smile, but you still feel those whispers quietly wearing away your faith. We often think the enemy of peace is the outer storm, but what hurts most isn't the hardship itself, it's trying to look perfectly fine through it. It's what the storm plants in your soul. Keeping up appearances during a long trial doesn't just exhaust you. It invites thoughts that distort your hope, like comparing yourself to others who seem genuinely happy and moving forward. They get answers, while you remain stuck smiling through the pain. Then comes guilt whispering that you failed or weren't enough, making you dissect every mistake. Fear doesn't always look like panic. It's that constant heavy tension behind your smile that won't let you truly rest. And the anxiety, that weight you carry even when everything is quiet. Maybe you've been there, scrolling through your phone, looking at everyone else's perfect lives, posts and stories, and suddenly your heart sinks. Not because you saw something terrible, but because you feel so left behind. You've started measuring your secret struggles against their public joy. That brings a dangerous, deep exhaustion, because God's timing for you is entirely unique. When you compare your secret heavy brokenness to their polished exterior, your soul loses all perspective. You start believing you're running late, that others get their answers and move on while you're stuck pretending. You think they have the strength you lack. Soon you're not just fighting your situation, but a distorted version of your own self-worth. Then comes the guilt. That silent companion sitting beside you when you're tired of acting strong, whispering heavy, painful questions. What if this is all my fault? What if I didn't pray enough or have enough faith? What if I've deeply disappointed God? Guilt forces you to look at your tired self with harsh judgment instead of seeking comfort. Slowly, instead of approaching God with raw confidence, you pull away in shame. You stay quiet, isolated behind your stable mask, believing you don't deserve relief. But God does not operate through shame. He corrects with love and restores with truth. He never crushes a soul that is already weary. Then there's fear creeping into your daily routine, in a delayed phone call, an unanswered text, or a quiet moment, in sleepless nights, where you play out worst-case scenarios that haven't even happened. It is in a subtle shift in tone, a mounting bill, or a door that remains locked. Fear doesn't have to scream to control you. It just quietly hangs around, constantly whispering, what if everything falls apart? What if you get hurt again? What if things get worse? Living under this heavy, silent pressure keeps you on constant edge. Your body is always on high alert, never able to drop the guard you keep up for others. But the worst part is when this weariness begins to warp your identity. You don't just say, I'm tired. You think, I'm not who I used to be. You don't just say, I'm afraid, but I'm just weak. You no longer feel you're just going through a hard season. You begin to believe this storm defines who you are. That's where the real battle lies. A trial can shake your circumstances, but these thoughts try to steal your very soul. They try to convince you that your joy is gone forever, and things will never be good again. They say your peace is broken, and the damage is too deep. But those lies do not come from God. He may use a season to shape you, but never to destroy who you are in Him. He may allow these long seasons, but not to strip away your hope, isolate you, or make you think your story ends in pain. That is why it's so important to recognize what is happening behind the mask you wear. Not every heavy thought deserves your focus. Not every emotion is a final sentence. No wound has the right to write your future. Lies creep in when you're tired of being strong, and if left unchecked, they take over. Maybe lately you felt that your faith didn't die, but it is completely exhausted. You still love God, but keeping up appearances is too hard. You still believe, but shadows fill your mind. That doesn't mean you've lost. It just means you've been fighting a silent battle no one else can see behind your smile. It means your exhaustion is real. You need to hear God's truth over the loud noise of your own weary thoughts. Going through a trial is one thing, but letting that trial convince you of lies about your worth, your future, and God's deep love for you is something else entirely. Yet even in this heavy space, God is working, even if you can't see it or feel afraid. And though the nights are still long, He is entering those spaces where your secret exhaustion tried to settle. He is touching the wounds where guilt tried to drown out grace, and stepping into the parts of your mind where anxiety tried to steal your peace. Because before He changes your external circumstances, God often starts by healing the secret pain that was draining you from within. And when that happens, something shifts quietly, not with a sudden overwhelming feeling, but in a gentle, deep way. It starts as a tiny light, a new clarity, a strange feeling that the need to pretend no longer has power over you. As if God is showing you that behind this heavy storm, there was a deeper purpose, a hidden lesson, and an ancient story from Scripture that is about to make complete, beautiful sense to you today. Remember that night when the disciples truly believed everything was about to end? This storm you are facing isn't made up. You aren't just overreacting or feeling down. What you're going through is completely real. The wind is howling, water is flooding your boat, and the sky has turned so dark it feels like the night might swallow you whole. And in the middle of this fragile, deeply human place, which looks just like the heavy nights, you hide behind your smile. Jesus was right there. It is a story from Mark chapter 4, verses 35 to 41. Even if you have heard it 1,000 times, there are moments when this stops being just a story and becomes a mirror. Because lately you feel like you are out in a tiny, fragile boat, surrounded by massive waves, desperately trying to keep your balance, while your entire world shakes without warning. Just picture it. It had been a long, exhausting day of ministry for Jesus. The crowds followed everywhere. There was a deep weariness in the air, the kind that comes from hours of pouring out speaking and holding everyone else up. Then he told them to cross over to the other side. He did not promise a smooth, comfortable ride without any trouble. He just said to go. This is so vital, because when God gives you a direction, He rarely explains the whole map. Sometimes He just gives you a word and trusts you to take the first step. The disciples got into the boat with Jesus, and that alone should have given them perfect peace. But having Jesus there did not stop the storm from hitting. This is one of the deepest, most painful truths to accept when you are hurting. Walking with God does not mean living without trials. It means that even in the middle of the trial, you are never alone. Maybe your weary soul needs to hear this today if a storm hit. It does not mean God abandoned you. Sometimes the hardest storms hit precisely when you are being obedient. Suddenly the water grew rough, the wind howled, waves crashed hard against your boat, and what started as a routine journey quickly turned into a scene of overwhelming, terrifying panic. This was not just a passing inconvenience, it was a situation they could no longer control. And that reality touches a very raw nerve inside of us, especially when you've worked so hard to look strong. Your real fear isn't just the crisis, it's realizing you can no longer control things. How many times has that happened? Your life seemed completely stable, and then, in a single second, everything shifted. A sudden diagnosis, a painful silence, a closed door, or an old hidden struggle that came roaring back just when you thought you were finally over it. Suddenly, you are desperately bailing water with your bare hands, smiling through the panic, while your soul wonders how much longer you can keep pretending to be okay. But there is one detail here that always touches a heavy heart. While they battled the storm, Jesus was asleep. What a confusing, frustrating image. They were terrified. The water was wild. The boat was tossing. Yet Jesus slept peacefully on a cushion. Not because he did not care or ignored their pain. He slept because his inner peace never depended on the chaotic noise outside. He slept because he knew what they could not see. The storm had absolutely no authority to cancel his promise. They were going to make it to the other side. This is where the story stops being just an encouraging lesson and becomes deeply painful for anyone currently hiding a quiet, secret struggle. Often God's silence feels exactly like that, as if he is asleep while you struggle alone just to keep from drowning, as if he does not see your desperation, and your prayers are just bouncing off a silent ceiling. That hurts so deeply, because when you are exhausted from faking strength, you do not just want a quick fix. You want proof that God sees you. So they woke him with a cry of pure panic. "Teacher, don't you care that we are drowning?" That cry came from absolute terror. It came from the deep exhaustion of a wounded heart that has started to mistake God's silence for abandonment. Let's be completely honest. You have probably prayed exactly like that, even if you never said the words out loud. Lord, are you seeing this? God, are you even here? Can't you see I am completely empty? These are raw, messy prayers born when the waves finally break you inside. Yet Jesus did not reject them for crying out in fear. He did not turn away because they were fragile and exhausted. He did not judge them for their weakness. He simply stood up, and that changed everything. He rebuked the wind, commanded the sea to be still, and a great calm followed. Not a temporary fix or a tiny break from the pain, but a deep, overwhelming peace. The very place that was filled with absolute chaos, flooded with water, fear, and high tension was instantly stilled by the authority of a single voice. It is such a beautiful image. Your storm is real, yes, but it is also temporary. It makes a lot of noise and hits hard, but it does not get the final say. That final word still belongs to Jesus. Maybe that is exactly what God wants to whisper to your tired heart today. What is shaking you cannot defeat you. The anxiety doesn't have it. The delay doesn't have it. The exhausting mask you wear doesn't have it. This chaos can make noise and wreck your emotions, but it has absolutely no authority to write the end of your story. The final pen is still firmly in God's hands. Then Jesus asked them, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" He wasn't trying to shame them. He was inviting them to look much deeper, as if saying, "Do you not see who is in this boat with you?" True faith doesn't mean pretending there are no waves. It means remembering who is standing right beside you while the storm rages. Faith isn't about hiding your fear. It is holding on through the shaking. It is choosing to trust even before the storm settles. There is something hidden in this story that we often miss. Jesus did not stop the storm from coming. He allowed it not to destroy you, but to reveal what was truly hidden deep inside your heart, to reveal how fragile your trust was, and how much your peace still depended on your circumstances, and to show you that Christ's presence in your boat is more powerful than any wind blowing against you. And maybe that is the spiritual truth starting to make sense in your life today. Maybe this trial did not just come to show your pain, but to reveal where you needed to know God on a deeper level. Not just as the God who blesses when life is easy, but as the God who stays when everything is shaking. Not just the God of your brightest days, but as the Lord who is right there in the dark, in the boat, in the chaos, holding you through the fears you cannot seem to calm. Because some storms do not come to drown you. They come to show you who truly rules the sea. And when that truth finally sinks into your heart, everything changes. Not because your problems vanish instantly or because the tears stop, but because you realize this trial, as painful as it is, did not come to stay. It has a limit, a deadline set by God Himself. And if Jesus is still in your boat, then this storm, no matter how endless it feels, is much closer to ending than you think. Real stories do not start with victory, but with you sitting at the very end of your strength. That is exactly your story. For months, nobody has known what you are carrying while you keep meeting every responsibility. You get up early. You make coffee in your quiet kitchen, watching the morning light barely peek through the window. You reply politely to texts. You smile when asked how you are, looking like someone strong who has it all together, who can handle anything life throws your way. But inside you are weathering a storm that has left you completely emotionally drained. It is not just one thing, and that is exactly why it is so hard to explain. There is a financial worry hanging over you, a long, exhausting wait for an answer that just will not come. Years of built-up exhaustion from being the strong one for everyone, plus a quiet sadness slowly taking over. Not the kind that always makes you cry, but a heavy emptiness, a total lack of energy to face the day, a feeling of being physically present in the room, while your soul is drifting further and further away. At night, when your front door finally closes and the noise of the day fades, the hardest part begins. You set your phone aside, turn off the lights, sit on the edge of the bed and feel like you do not even have the strength to untangle your own thoughts. Some nights you just stare at the ceiling in complete silence, carrying that heavy breath of someone trying desperately not to break. It is not that you do not trust God. You do, but you are just so tired. You have prayed for this so many times that sometimes you do not even know if you are asking with faith or just sheer desperation. And that hurts. It hurts to keep waiting. It hurts not knowing how you will ever get through this season. It hurts feeling like everyone needs something from you when you do not even know how to hold yourself up. You have thought, I cannot keep going like this. You would never say that out loud. You hide it just like so many people who mask their exhaustion to protect others, acting perfectly fine on the outside. One Sunday afternoon, after a brutally heavy week, you went out for a walk, alone. No clear plan, you just needed to breathe. You needed to escape before the walls felt like they were closing in. The sky was gray. No rain yet, but the air held that heavy tension that promises a storm. You walked slowly, passing quiet shops, crossing an empty street, and finally sat on a bench in a small park. Dry leaves lay scattered on the ground, trees swaying in the gentle breeze, and right there, with no music, no audience, and no dramatic scene, you broke down and cried. It was not a pretty cry. It was not some polished storybook moment. It was raw, deep sobbing that happens when your soul can no longer manage the pain in silence. You looked down, buried your face in your hands, and whispered something simple but completely honest to God. I cannot pretend anymore. I am so tired. If this storm does not end soon, I do not know how I will keep going. What an incredibly human prayer. Not long, not fancy, not perfect, just real. And so often, it is right there in that unmasked truth where a sliver of light begins to break through. Your days did not change overnight, of course, because real breakthroughs are not built on instant fixes, but on tiny whispers of hope that restore your breath piece by piece. You did not wake up the next morning with perfect peace. A magical answer did not just fall from the sky, but you did start to notice a shift. Like a quiet calm was settling deep inside your exhaustion, gentle, subtle, but undeniably real. You started sleeping a little better. You felt less of that heavy weight on your chest. When, waking up, you cried less out of panic and more from a quiet comfort that God was near. One morning, washing dishes as the sunlight hit the sink, you felt a clear, gentle whisper echo deep in your heart. You will not stay here. You were completely alone, putting on that brave face. No audible voice spoke, but the truth hit so clearly you finally stopped pretending and just breathed. It wasn't just a passing feeling. It was a deep conviction taking root beneath your exhausted, smiling mask. Something began to shift, though nothing changed outwardly yet. First, something shifted deep inside you. You finally stopped believing this storm would last forever. You stopped seeing every workday as an endless dead-end loop. You started talking to God, simply letting go of the fake strength and just showing Him your broken reality. Through that raw honesty, your weary heart began to heal. Soon, an unexpected door opened, lifting a heavy weight off your finances and your mind. It didn't fix every single issue, but it was enough to show you that God was already working behind the scenes. Then came that difficult talk you had been dreading for months. But instead of chaos, you found peace and clarity. Then, a door you thought was locked began opening slowly. Not with a loud bang, but quietly. What shook you most wasn't just that God answered, but that He did it right when you were at your absolute breaking point. A bit later, you might say what she said later, a truth that echoes in your own tired soul. You thought the miracle meant everything changing overnight, but the real miracle is when God keeps you afloat inside the storm, giving you strength to survive even when you are exhausted. How true that is. Sometimes your victory doesn't start when your circumstances change. It starts the moment your exhausted soul can finally breathe under pressure. It is when you find genuine peace in the waiting, reclaiming your hope before you ever see the final complete answer. When God carries you so deeply that you stop faking your strength, trading anxiety for a faith that is quiet, real, and mature. If this speaks to you, hit like to show you still believe God can shift a heavy season in an instant. And tell me in the comments below, where are you tired of pretending everything is okay? Writing it down and putting it into words is a powerful way to release it to heaven, because this silent battle isn't yours alone. It's happening every single day to normal, everyday people who are fighting just to keep going. People smiling through tears, crying in secret, convinced they cannot hold up this heavy mask another day. And yet they suddenly discover God was already making moves before they saw a thing. Maybe that is exactly where you are today. While you drag yourself to work feeling stuck, something is shifting. While you feel like you are barely surviving behind that smile, God is already rebuilding the broken, hidden places that this long weariness has shattered. Because after the exhaustion comes a season of learning. A time when God doesn't just comfort your fatigue, but teaches you how to endure without losing yourself. When you have pretended to be strong for too long, you need more than just promises. You need real, daily ways to breathe. Yes, God comforts and holds you, but He also gently guides you. And in the middle of this silent struggle, one of the deepest ways He cares for you is by giving you practical, quiet tools to bring peace back to your chaotic, exhausted mind. Not complex programs or perfect routines, but honest human steps to help you stop drowning in the noise of pretending everything is fine. The first step is raw, honest prayer. Not a polished prayer that sounds good to others, and not one that tries to hide your true exhaustion under big, holy words. It is the prayer born in absolute silence, sitting on the edge of your bed, eyes heavy, soul completely drained, simply whispering, "Lord, here I am. I have nothing left to give, but I am still here." That simple, unmasked cry is worth more than 1,000 sermons. When you stop acting strong before God, the healing begins. It might not fix your situation overnight, but it lightens the crushing weight you have been carrying all by yourself. Another deeply healing gift is silence. Not the heavy silence of loneliness, but a quiet space you choose. A silence that drowns out the endless demands, the constant comparisons, and the pressure to always perform. You cannot hear God whisper peace when you are busy keeping up appearances. In exhausting seasons, learning to sit quietly, without pretending to have all the answers, or hiding behind distractions, becomes a holy, restorative act. In that quiet space, even if it feels uneasy at first, God begins to soothe the exhaustion you usually hide. He might not give you long explanations, just a quiet sense of relief, and that is enough. Then there is conscious breathing, which is incredibly simple, but vital. When you spend months pretending everything is fine, your body actually forgets how to breathe. Your body stays on high alert. Your chest tightens, your mind races, your jaw clenches, and your shoulders carry a heavy load. So pause right now. Inhale slowly, let out a deep breath, and quietly tell yourself, God is right here with me. It sounds too simple, but it tells your weary nervous system that you are safe. It reminds your brain that you do not have to fix everything today, and reminds your soul there is still a place to rest. Another healing practice is writing down your thoughts. Not to be poetic, but simply to empty your head of the worries you hide behind that smile. When you finally name your exhaustion, your grief, or your fear, those heavy emotions stop feeling like an overwhelming, faceless storm. Putting a name to your pain helps you surrender it, allowing you to hand the real, unmasked you over to God. Maybe tonight you only write 2 lines. Maybe your whole day is just, I am so tired of pretending, but I am still here. And even that honest confession becomes a deep prayer. Do not forget songs that bring your weary soul back to God. I do not mean playing music just to fill the quiet. I mean choosing things that actually bring peace and truth to your heavy heart. Sometimes a gentle worship song while you clean, drive, or just stare out the window with a fake smile washed away can do more for your exhausted soul than you ever imagined. Worship has this beautiful power. It might not fix everything instantly, but it shifts the heavy environment you are forcing yourself to smile through. And perhaps one of the most urgent things you need right now is to unplug from the noise. Stop performing, comparing, and draining your empty cup. Not everything you look at helps your spirit. Not every voice deserves access to you when you are this worn out. Sometimes protecting your peace means letting the stable image drop and closing doors so God can heal your deepest wounds. These habits do not replace God's work, but they prepare your weary heart to receive His touch. They are like a tiny lamp in the dark. They do not bring the sun instantly, but they keep you from falling before morning. And as you finally learn to breathe again, God wants to show you how to live this faith daily, even while pretending at work, making decisions, and managing a real life where storms do not wait until you feel ready. Faith is not just for the big moments. It is built in the quiet grind, the routine where nobody applauds your strength, in the daily friction, the exhausted mornings when you force a smile in traffic, and through awkward conversations, at the job that demands far more than you can possibly give, in those texts that instantly drain your mood, and the silent comparison that hits when you scroll through your phone. That is where the storm is real. And that is where God wants to teach you to stand, because it is easy to look stable when everything is calm, but holding on when daily pressure squeezes you is different. We often think faith only happens during prayer at church or in emotional moments when we feel close. But no real faith is built when you are doing chores with an completely exhausted mind, just trying to get through, driving to work while holding back tears, and when you are surrounded by people, but desperately trying to protect your inner peace. This hidden daily faith is quiet, but it is incredibly precious to God. Think about it. Waking up after a sleepless night of worrying. The morning light creeps in, and though you force your body out of bed, your heart still feels like absolute lead. Obligations are waiting, emails, bills, decisions, and that internal exhaustion you tried to sleep away is still screaming inside. In moments like that, wisdom is not about doing something massive. Sometimes it is simpler. It is refusing to give your first waking breath to fear, or letting anxiety dictate your day before you even sit up. It is refusing to let worry run your morning. That changes everything, because deep battles of the soul are not won with huge gestures, but with quiet choices. It is deciding what you will feed first, choosing which voice matters most, and deciding if you will start with your exhaustion or with the truth that God is right there beside you. That choice, though small, reshapes your entire day. And this applies to relationships too. Some of our hardest storms are not walked through alone, but inside tense conversations, heavy silences, broken expectations, or family connections that have grown completely exhausted. We need deep wisdom here, because when you are hurting behind your smile, it is easy to snap. You react in anger, shut down, or view everything through emotional burnout. But mature faith teaches you to pause before reacting. It teaches you to hold your tongue when you are weary. It helps you know what actually needs a conversation versus what just needs to be surrendered to God first. For example, picture yourself walking through the front door after a brutal day where you had to pretend everything was fine. You are suffocating inside, and immediately someone says something harsh. In the past, you might have snapped back just as quickly. Maybe you would have let all that bottled up exhaustion explode. But this time you do something else. You breathe and pause. Not to ignore your feelings, but because you refuse to feed the storm. You want to walk through it with grace, letting God govern even your reactions. That is a massive, very real victory. And then there is the silent toxic trap of comparing your life to others. We are surrounded by images, ads, and others' achievements, highly edited, perfect lives. When you are already exhausted from hiding your own pain and keeping up appearances looking outward only makes the inner noise much louder. You wonder why they are moving forward while you wait, or why they look so happy while you fight just to stay upright. Why do they get answers while you keep praying for the exact same thing? But true daily wisdom is remembering that those screens do not tell the whole story, and your personal walk with God does not need to look like anyone else's to matter. Your choices must come from this quiet truth, not from fear, desperation, or the desperate urge to run away from your exhaustion, but from a quiet peace that, though still small, is already growing inside you. Because when a storm drags on, you can easily make hasty choices just to escape the constant pressure of keeping it all together. And what is fast is rarely wise. Sometimes God does not just want to rescue you from this heavy season. He also wants to teach you how to walk through it with wisdom. Living your faith daily does not mean having perfect, happy words. It means walking with God in the quiet, repetitive moments that nobody else sees. It means bringing peace into your work, your home, your deep exhaustion, the texts you answer, and those private thoughts, choosing quietness until you finally feel a sense of true rest. It means realizing that even in this storm, you do not have to lose yourself behind that forced smile. When you live this way, a deep shift begins. You stop just waiting for God to fix your situation, and you realize that He is actually changing you from the inside out. But there is a part of this journey that hurts far more than you ever let on. Those heavy moments when God seems completely silent, yet something invisible is still working in the background. His silence does not feel empty. It feels incredibly heavy. It is easy to face trials when you have a clear sign or a fresh word, a visible answer to keep your weary spirit going. But it is completely different when you walk for weeks pretending you are fine, feeling like heaven is quiet while your exhausted soul screams with endless questions. That kind of silence hurts in a deeply personal way, not because God has abandoned you, but because you cannot see how He is working. So many people are hiding this exact pain. You pray, then continue your busy day, waiting for a direction that never seems to show up on time. You search Scripture hoping for a quick spark of hope to get through the day, only to fall asleep feeling completely lost. You keep believing, but your faith is exhausted, quiet and slow, like stumbling through the dark, feeling the wall just to stay upright. Though you would never admit it to anyone, this quiet void is the hardest part of the trial. Because when God is silent, your mind tries to fill the void. It fills it with worries, doubts, and memories of old pain, whispering thoughts like, maybe He did not hear me, maybe it is over, or maybe I have to fix this all by myself. Slowly, your weary soul starts viewing His quietness as distance. But His stillness is actually deep intimacy, because silence does not mean absence. Some silences are deeply purposeful. God is not ignoring you. He is working on a level your exhausted eyes simply cannot see yet. That is incredibly hard to accept when you are exhausted. Your heart desperately craves quick answers. You want visible relief, wanting to know what to do, how much longer, and why this is happening. You want order right now. But God rarely gives us the whole map at once. Sometimes He just gives you enough strength to get through this single day. And though that feels tiny when you are desperate, it is exactly the grace you need to avoid rushing ahead or giving up and breaking things just to escape the pressure. Picture a simple scene. You are sitting by a window late in the afternoon. The house is completely quiet. The sky is a dull, heavy gray, and your coffee has gone cold on the table. Your phone is face down because the text you wanted never came. In that silence with no music or words, you just sigh and whisper, God, if you are here, do not let me get lost in your silence. That quiet prayer is sacred. That waiting matters. This emptiness is not wasted time. It is the space where God is shaping your soul. Consider this. You might look back and realize your deepest spiritual growth did not happen during mountaintop moments, but in days when you understood absolutely nothing, when there were no answers, and your only brave choice was to keep showing up before Him completely numb. Later you will discover that, right inside that heavy quiet, a deeper, mature faith was born, one that does not rely on emotional highs. You no longer need every answer to trust Him, because God's silence is not a void. It is a workshop. It is where He is piecing your life together without showing you the final picture. It is where your restless heart learns to rest, letting go of the constant rush to focus on what truly matters, while your hidden fears and needs finally surface. You realize how much you hated waiting, how tightly you held on to control, and how terrifying the unknowns really were. That exposure hurts, but it heals. God does not just want to hand you a breakthrough at the end. He wants you to emerge stronger, freer, and fully aware of His presence. Maybe that is why this season feels so strange. It is not just painful, it is deeply quiet. A silence that terrifies you at times, draining your remaining energy and forcing you to look deeper inside than you ever wanted to. But hear this, His silence is never indifference. Never. If He is quiet, it is not because He stopped watching. If He is not answering, He has not abandoned you. He is working in deep, invisible ways that words cannot explain yet. Sometimes He remains silent, because if you saw the whole picture, your anxiety would make you rush ahead of His perfect timing. Sometimes He is silent because in that quiet, He is strengthening the tired soul you hide behind that forced smile. Here is a beautiful truth. Even when you are tired of acting strong and see no movement, there is still direction. Even when you get no clear answer, He is protecting you. Even when everything feels completely still, all of heaven might be arranging what you cannot understand, while you keep trying to hold everything together. If this speaks to you, leave a like as a quiet sign of faith, and write in the comments, "I still believe, even when it hurts." Sometimes those words do not just show your pain, they remind your exhausted soul that you have not given up yet. Because some things only make sense later. You will thank Him for closed doors. Some answers only come when you can truly carry them. Some delays are not punishment, they are preparation. While you were struggling to look stable and thought heaven was silent, God was already moving behind the scenes. It is slow and hidden, but deeply real, like an undercurrent beneath the surface, or a seed growing in the dark, like a morning that has not broken yet, but began shaping itself long before the first light appears. Waiting matures you, even when it feels like it is just wearing down your remaining strength. Nobody enjoys waiting during a storm. Nobody wakes up wanting more doubts or delays while pretending to be fine. When your heart is aching, you just want relief. You want progress, a sign that change is coming. Yet there are seasons where God is not just working on what you are waiting for. He is working on you, the one doing the waiting. That changes everything. When a trial drags on, it does more than test your patience. It reveals the depth of your roots and where your faith truly rests. It shows if your trust depended on quick answers and how much of your peace was built on keeping control. While that feels uncomfortable, it shapes you deeply. Some lessons only come when you cannot force things to happen faster, when you cannot fix everything, and have no choice but to take it one day at a time, letting God work at His own slow pace. Waiting matures you because it forces your tired soul to stop running, even if it does not feel good. It is a deep blessing. You can find things in the quiet waiting that speed would never show you, like a truly honest relationship with God. No longer a faith built on quick results, but one that stands firm even when your circumstances do not change. Not just a desperate prayer to escape the pain, but an intimate talk where your weary heart finally says, "Lord, if this is not over yet, help me not to lose myself in it." That faith is born when the answer is delayed, yet your soul chooses to stay close to God. Just think about what happens to fruit before it ripens. It does not change instantly. It will not rush just because you are in a hurry or tired of waiting. It requires a quiet, hidden process. It must remain in that space where nothing seems to happen on the outside, while everything transforms within. It is the same for you. Others just see you working and smiling, but God sees what is happening beneath the surface. He sees your character shifting. He sees you reacting differently now. He sees you learning to speak with wisdom instead of impulse. He sees you building a quieter, deeper strength, one that does not need to put on the show to be real. Maybe you used to panic when things were delayed, trying to force doors open and control every single outcome. Silence felt unbearable, like proof that everything was failing. But after walking through this long season, though the waiting still feels heavy, you no longer let it tear you apart inside. You still have questions, but they do not come from panic. You still want answers, but now you know how to breathe. You know that rushing things ahead of God only brings pain. You might not have everything you asked for yet, but you are not the same person who started. That is real growth. This quiet season refined your expectations, teaching you to see the difference between what felt urgent and what was actually necessary. It shows how often you wanted quick comfort while God was building a firm foundation for your future. Some blessings must find you ready, less fragile, less impulsive, and no longer dependent on temporary feelings to feel secure. You do not have to be perfect, but some answers are received so much better when your soul has been stretched first. Maybe that is why this difficult season has lasted longer than you ever wanted it to. Not because He likes watching you struggle or ignores your silent exhaustion, but because His work in you is incredibly deep. He is healing while He prepares, strengthening as He aligns, and removing the rush that would only hurt you later. He is building a capacity in you to carry your future blessings without breaking under the weight. Even if it hurts, it is different now. You are realizing that the quiet is not emptying you. It is making you deeper, softer, more aware of His gentle presence, and capable of standing firm without needing a clear explanation for everything. That is not giving up. It is true spiritual maturity, proving the storm could not sweep you away. This means even here in the waiting, God is still creating life. But there is a part of you, the part that always has to look strong, that still needs His tender touch. Because after smiling through it for so long, what is left is not just fatigue from waiting, but deep emotional wounds that also need quiet rest, comfort, and restoration. These are the hidden wounds that do not show on the outside, yet ache every time something brushes against them. And after pretending you are fine for so long, it happens more than you admit. A trial does not just exhaust you. It leaves deep scars, tender spots, and heavy memories that still tighten your chest the moment they rush back. It leaves a quiet tremor inside that shows up even when you are smiling, as if your soul cannot quite believe it is safe to finally let your guard down. That does not mean you lack faith. It just means you have spent too long carrying a heavy emotional mask without any real rest. You might feel like something fundamentally changed inside you. You do not respond the same, trust the same, or feel as light as you did before you had to start hiding your pain. You might find yourself quieter, draining faster, still smiling for the crowd, but keeping a guard up around the most fragile parts of your heart. Because the pressure to stay strong leaves you on high alert, with your soul whispering, "I cannot go through that pain again." While that defense is natural, it becomes a heavy weight when carried too long. Maybe you are hiding a deep sense of abandonment today, not because someone physically left you, but because you hoped for support and only met distance. Hoping for care, but receiving coldness. You expected a kind word and got silence. That leaves a deep mark, because it attacks your basic need to be seen and loved behind the facade. Going through this makes you weep for what you lost, and it makes you quietly wonder if anyone will actually catch you if you fall. So you slowly stop asking, stop expecting, and stop showing any weakness. You build walls so you do not have to rely on anyone. Maybe you carry the scar of broken promises and shattered trust from those you thought would stand by you. That betrayal does not just sting because of the act. It warps how you look at everyone else while pretending you are fine. It even warps how you view life itself, making it hard to believe that anything truly good can come without some hidden catch or future pain. It makes it hard to relax, to let people in, and to stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. Then there is the sheer fatigue of being the strong one for too long, holding up everyone else while carrying your own silent battles. You carry worries, silence, and battles without ever giving yourself permission to stop and rest. Eventually, you do not cry for just one reason. You cry because you are utterly exhausted from pretending needing someone to hold you. You simply cannot keep acting like everything is under control. This deep exhaustion is invisible to others, but it is incredibly heavy. It weighs on you when you wake, when you speak, and even when you try to enjoy happy moments. Beneath the surface lies a lingering, quiet sadness. Not a passing bad day, but the kind of sorrow that slowly gathers in the dark corners of your heart over time. It comes from tiny letdowns, silent sacrifices, and all the times you forced a smile and kept moving without ever healing. This grief rarely explodes. Instead, it settles in becoming a quiet background of your life. You might not even realize how much weight you are carrying until a simple song or a quiet evening breaks you. Suddenly, the mask falls off. But hear me clearly on this. God does not just want to end your storm. He wants to heal what it broke inside you. He does not look at your deep exhaustion as an annoyance, nor does he expect you to keep pretending you are okay. Your pain is not a shameful weakness to him. He does not ask you to hide your sensitive heart. Instead, he steps close with the deep compassion of a father who knows exactly where you hurt, how deeply it cut, and how long you have been struggling to march forward while masking your true feelings. God never rushes your healing. He does not demand that you wear a fake smile or show some artificial strength. He cares for you with the gentle love you rarely show yourself. Close your eyes and picture this for a moment. A quiet room. The house completely still. A soft light in the corner. You sit there, your shoulders heavy with the day's ache, your thoughts finally slowing down. In that gentle space, God does not demand a performance. He only comes to wrap his arms around your hidden wounds. It is not a physical touch, but a profound, settling peace that finally lets you take a real, deep breath. You do not have to explain anything. He already knows. He has seen every tear you hid behind your smile, and you do not need to impress him. You do not need perfect prayers when your soul just needs to rest in his care. True healing does not mean forgetting the past. It means being able to remember without falling apart talking about the trial, without letting it drag you back down. It means no longer seeing yourself just as a weary survivor that's starting to see yourself as someone God is actively rebuilding. This restoration takes time, yes, but it is sacred. Every layer he heals, every fear he calms, and every heavy mask he helps you drop brings back what the storm stole. Your peace, your ability to love without defense, to hope without fear, and to breathe without carrying the world. And maybe that is starting right now, even if you cannot fully see it yet. A gentle, deep restoration is taking shape within your soul, patiently, as if God is gently gathering the weary pieces of you, hidden behind that strong mask, just to give you real rest, to restore your dignity and your hope. And as this deep healing enters your heavy heart, you will find a new way to face your storms, not just from your hidden pain, but with quiet, calm authority, with a firmer faith and an inner voice reminding you that victory is still ahead. There comes a point when a soul that has cried so much behind closed doors no longer needs to keep explaining the pain. You need to speak from a deeper place, not through pretending, not from a fake, forced strength or empty smiles that hide the hurt, but from a quiet confidence that rises when, even while bleeding, you start to remember who is actually holding you. You reach a point where God does not just soothe your hidden exhaustion, He lifts up your soul so you can face the trial without feeling completely crushed by it. That changes everything, because the storm might still roar outside for a while. But once a deep, real faith wakes up inside you, you are no longer so vulnerable to the chaos. Your words of victory are not performative shouts to convince others you are okay. They are deep truths your weary heart must hear until they crowd out your fear. They are a way to align your exhausted soul with what God has already spoken and promised, with who God still is even when your feelings fail you. And maybe today you do not need more explanations or new theories, just honest, deep truth to hold you up. Today you can whisper beneath your breath, "This storm is not my permanent home." You can say this not because your life is fixed, but because you know no season of suffering can outstay God's constant loving care. You can whisper, "God has not let me go." Despite the endless nights, the heavy silence and the hard days where you had to fake your strength just to survive. He did not let go then, and He won't now. You can also declare, "My current pain does not define my future, because a wound is not an identity, and a delay is not a destiny." Your quiet exhaustion is not your whole story. Yes, you have faced intense battles. Yes, you have carried heavy burdens. Yes, you have walked through deep valleys that left permanent scars. But you are not defined by your pain. God sees far beyond this season. He sees the life that will still bloom, the real peace returning, your strength being renewed, and a deep joy that will finally feel natural again. Here's another truth your weary heart needs to hear clearly. Not everything that broke will stay broken. Yes, some doors closed forever. Some people changed and some chapters ended. But that does not mean your entire life must be defined by what was lost. God restores in unexpected ways. He may not recreate your past, but He will bring beauty to the empty places, steadying your mind after so much confusion, and planting peace where you carried tension. And though you cannot see the full picture yet, you are not heading toward ruin. You are walking into a deeper experience of God's grace. You can also declare, "My mind will not be ruled by fear," not because the anxiety will magically vanish, but because fear no longer has permission to run your mind, your choices, or your days. God is calming your thoughts. He is teaching your weary heart to breathe again, slowly stripping away the power anxiety tried to hold over your peace. Things might not change overnight, but the shift has started. True victory often begins quietly on the inside, with a deep calm that others cannot see yet behind your smile. One more truth, perhaps the most vital right now. My story is not over, and my purpose remains. There are beautiful days you haven't lived yet, answers you haven't found, and a deep relief you can't even imagine. One morning, you will look back and realize you weren't surviving on your own strength. God was holding you up when you were too tired to keep pretending. You do not need to repeat endless prayers. Just a few honest, raw words will do. It is enough to say, "Lord, I am still here. I do not understand everything, but I am not alone. This season will pass." In those simple, honest words, real strength begins to return. Because after carrying that heavy mask for so long, God doesn't just want to prepare you for battle. He wants to bring you into a deep, genuine rest where you can stop fighting yourself. A rest that doesn't mean the storm outside has stopped, but that your weary soul is finally letting go into God's loving hands. After maintaining that perfect image for so long, learning to rest is hard. For someone who has survived a long storm, tranquility can feel completely foreign. Your body might be still, but your mind is still guarding against the next blow, as if you can't quite trust that it's safe to drop your guard and let go of the burden. That is completely human. When you've been on high alert, overthinking every night, forcing yourself to keep smiling through sheer exhaustion and fear, the anxiety doesn't just switch off instantly. Your exhausted soul needs time. It needs gentle grace and the relief of knowing that you do not have to carry everything yourself. The heaviest burden isn't always the crisis itself. It is the exhaustion of trying to manage everything, solve every issue, and predict every single disaster before it even happens, feeling like you must have an answer for everything. It feels like protection, but it actually drains your soul. You weren't created to carry. Trying to hold the whole world on your shoulders. You weren't made to carry tomorrow alone. You weren't made to live in constant tension, fearing that letting your guard down is dangerous. God doesn't just tell you to hold on. He also whispers, "Rest in me." And that's hard, because resting in God doesn't always mean you can see the whole picture. Often it just means trusting before you have any answers. It means going to sleep with unresolved questions, closing your eyes in the dark, and finally stopping the endless loop of anxious thoughts, the same old fears and hurts, and gently whispering, "Lord, I can't keep pretending. I'm putting this in your hands now." That quiet release is deeply spiritual and healing. Maybe today you need to hear that resting isn't quitting and it isn't losing faith. It's not about giving up. Resting is remembering that God is still God even when you finally stop. Heaven doesn't need your worry to keep turning. True victories come when we stop fighting and just let go. Picture this: someone turning off the bedroom light at the end of a long, exhausting day, fluffing the pillow, taking a deep breath, and choosing to stop wrestling with everything they couldn't fix today. Maybe the problems are still there. The questions are unanswered, and the breakthrough hasn't come. But instead of feeding the fear, you whisper, "God, tonight you carry the weight I can no longer hold." And in that tiny surrender, a different kind of peace enters. Not perfect or completely finished yet, but a peace that is enough to let a weary warrior finally rest in the safe place. That is what God wants for you. Not just strength for tomorrow, but rest for your soul tonight. Peace for a mind that has been overthinking everything. Rest for a heart that's been on guard too long. And for the exhausted part of you that no longer needs to prove anything, or fake being strong, or carry it all in silence. True rest doesn't come from having life sorted out. It comes from knowing who holds you. It's remembering God watches over you while you sleep, trusting that this storm has a limit, but God's love has no end. As you finally slow down and take a real breath, heaven is preparing a quiet moment, not just for rest, but to lift up everything you have felt, every hidden tear, and all your silent hopes, into a prayer where your soul can surrender, held safe by our Heavenly Father. Here we are, after all the hidden, heavy lifting, after pretending to be strong, after so many nights of crying in secret. Here we are, standing before you. We come without perfect words, without fake strength, and tired of pretending that everything is fine. We come exactly as we are, with weary souls, crowded minds, wounds that still sting, and unanswered questions. But we also bring something deeply precious. We are still seeking you, and that is a beautiful act of faith. Today we give you this storm, this trial that weighs so much more than anyone knows, and the tears we hid behind our smiles. We surrender the anxious thoughts keeping us awake, and the quiet dread of not knowing how much longer this lasts. The exhaustion of always holding it together. The pressure to keep smiling when we just wanted to stop and breathe. Lord, you know exactly where the pain started. The heavy things we couldn't explain, and the internal battle we tried so hard to hide behind a smile. So right now, in your presence, we lay down the weight we can no longer carry alone. Father, look at the one listening right now with a heavy heart. Look at their anxious days, sleepless nights, moments of deep sadness, seasons of quiet isolation, and times when the mind races while the soul feels completely drained. Draw close to them in a deeply personal and loving way so they know they aren't alone. Let them feel you stepping into their storm, knowing that even in their exhaustion, your hand has never let go. Lord, bring deep peace to their weary mind. Where thoughts are racing, bring quiet rest. Where there is confusion, bring clarity. Where there is fear, bring deep trust. Where anxiety has taken over, pour out your calm. Where their heart has been on high alert for too long, teach them how to breathe again. May your peace, which goes beyond all understanding, cover every racing thought and painful memory right now, and every emotion that hasn't found rest. Let the person listening today feel that their mind is safe and guarded because you guard our inner world. Father, heal the deep emotional wounds left behind by this storm. Heal the abandonment, the betrayal, and the profound exhaustion of having to act strong for far too long. Heal the quiet sadness of those who kept moving forward, never stopping to process their pain. Heal the hurtful words, the heavy silences, and the emptiness that crept in. Gently touch those hidden parts of the soul that nobody else sees. Please don't let this painful season define your child's heart forever, Lord. Bring back their hope, restore their joy, and give them the courage to trust without fear. Give them the rest this storm tried to steal. We also pray for your family, your home, your children, and the loved ones you silently worry over while wearing a brave smile. Reach out to that home. Bring peace to the tension. Bring closeness where there is distance. And where exhaustion has built up behind closed doors, breathe rest. Where there is lack, provide. Where there is hidden grief, comfort them. Where there is doubt, steady their steps. And if anyone in that family is fighting a secret storm inside, touch them with your mercy and wrap them in your loving care. Lord, strengthen the one who is just going through the motions. Do not ask for more than they can carry. Just hold them up. Remind them that this heavy trial has an expiration date. In the middle of this hard season, show them quiet signs of your love. Not loud or flashy miracles, but those sacred little moments that lift a heavy heart. An unexpected peace. A door starting to open. A quiet chat that brings relief, new strength to face the morning, and the calm assurance that you are working, even when they cannot see it yet. And if they are secretly running on empty, remind them right now that your grace always knows how to show up right on time. Father, teach us to rest in you. Help us let go of what we cannot control, to stop living in fear, to never mistake your silence for abandonment, or measure your love by how fast you answer. Teach us to trust even when we have no answers, and to just take it one day at a time. Let us remember that this storm has an end date, but your faithfulness never expires. This trial will not last forever. We declare that pain does not get the final say. There is still a future, still a purpose, still healing, and days of peace we have not yet seen. Even though some things are still in progress, we choose to believe you are actively working. You have not let go of our story. You are still writing even on the pages where we only see endless waiting. Lord, wrap everyone listening today in your presence. Make this space a true sanctuary, a place of deep comfort and real connection. May every message shared here serve as a simple altar where weary souls who have put on a brave face can finally breathe believe, and stand back up. Let no one leave this place unchanged. Let them leave feeling lighter, no longer alone, fully supported, and knowing that you have been right here with them through it all. Thank you, Father, because even inside our quiet storms, your love remains our safe haven. Thank you that when our own strength runs completely dry, your faithfulness still stands. Thank you that this exhaustion is not forever, and that the new dawn you are preparing always breaks at the perfect ordained moment. In God's name, amen. If this spoke to your tired heart, type amen in the comments and share this with someone who needs this comforting message today. Subscribe to join me tomorrow, because God still has more to say to you. May He bless you deeply, hold you through this dark night of the soul, and remind you that no storm lasts forever when He is right there in the boat with you.